All right, let's get into it, because the Philadelphia Eagles just keep showing why they're one of the most complete teams in football right now. Monday Night Football wasn't some high-scoring shootout filled with flashy plays and explosive highlights. No, this one was cold, gritty, and downright ugly at times. But that's exactly what makes it special. The Eagles went into freezing Green Bay weather, wind swirling across Lambeau Field, temperatures that made it hard to even grip the football, and still walked out with a 10-7 win. 7-2 on the season. That's not just a record, that's a statement. Now, a lot of people have been panicking about the offense, and I get it. It wasn't a pretty showing. Outside of a couple of big plays, that 41-yard catch and run from Saquon Barkley and that bomb from Jalen Hurts to Devonta Smith, it was tough sledding. A lot of 3-and-outs, conservative play calling, and drives that just couldn't get rolling. But here's the thing. This wasn't some perfect weather dome game. It was brutally cold, the wind was cutting through the field, and both offenses were feeling it. Even elite quarterbacks struggle when the ball moves in midair, and the Packers' defense is no joke either. So while the box score doesn't look great, this one says a lot about the kind of football team the Eagles are. Defensively, this was one of the most dominant performances we've seen from them all season. The pass rush? Unreal. I mean, this might have been the best collective effort from the defensive line all year. They were in Jordan Love's face all night long. Philadelphia's front completely dictated the pace of the game, collapsing the pocket over and over again. And let's talk about Jalen Phillips for a second. What a debut. His first game as an Eagle, and he looked like he'd been part of that defense for years. 8 pressures, 7 hurries, 2 quarterback hits, and even got credited for a forced fumble and recovery. You couldn't have asked for a better introduction. The guy was everywhere. Howie Roseman once again looks like a genius for pulling that trade off. He gives up a third-rounder, and somehow it already looks like a bargain. When you think about it, this game was one of those culture wins that every great team has. It wasn't about running up the score or padding stats. It was about surviving a tough environment and still coming out on top. Winning close games is a skill. It's something Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have mastered. Under pressure, late in the game, with everything on the line, they find ways to execute. And it's that kind of mental toughness that carries over into January football. Because in the playoffs, games like this are what separate pretenders from contenders. And you know what's scary? That defense is built for January. That pass rush alone is enough to carry this team deep into the postseason. Think back to their last Super Bowl run. No need for crazy blitzes, just pure pressure up front. They made Patrick Mahomes look human in one of his worst games ever. And now they've reloaded with even more talent. Against Green Bay, the Eagles pressured Love on 17 of his 42 dropbacks. That's an insane rate. When he was under pressure, he went 3 of 12 for 21 yards and took 3 sacks. Those are video game numbers for a defense. If the offense can just get back to playing at its usual level, Philadelphia's balance on both sides of the ball makes them as dangerous as anyone in the league. Now let's zoom out for a second and look at the NFC picture, because the Eagles' position right now is huge. Sitting at 7-2, they're holding onto that number 1 seed. And that's not just some meaningless statistic. That first round bye, that home field advantage at Lincoln Financial Field, it's massive. The Birds at home in the postseason are a different animal. Since 2000, they've gone 14-5 in home playoff games. 4 straight NFC championship victories at home. South Philly in January? Good luck to any team trying to come in there and steal a win. The energy, the crowd, the cold, it's all part of the advantage. But it's not like they can relax. Seattle's right there at 7-2 as well. And even though a lot of people question their strength of schedule, you can't overlook them. Their defense is top 5, their offense is clicking, and Seattle is one of the hardest places to play in the entire NFL. The Eagles haven't beaten the Seahawks in ages, and if those two teams end up meeting in the playoffs, that's going to be a war. Behind them, you've got the Lions sitting at 6-3. That loss by Green Bay really helped Detroit climb up the standings, and they're another team you can't sleep on. Dan Campbell has those guys playing hard, physical football every single week. And speaking of the Lions, the Eagles' upcoming schedule is no joke. Sunday Night Football this week, they've got to host Detroit, a team that's coming off extra rest and looking to prove they belong in that elite tier. Then, right after that, a brutal stretch. A trip to Dallas to face the Cowboys in Week 12, then a short turnaround for a Black Friday matchup against the Chicago Bears, followed by a Monday night game against the Chargers. That's a gauntlet. These are all playoff-caliber teams, or at least ones capable of giving the Eagles a fight. After that, things ease up a bit. Raiders at home, 2 games against the Commanders, but still not easy. Buffalo's right in the middle of that mix, and anytime you go up to Orchard Park, you're in for a dogfight. So yeah, the Eagles have some work to do if they want to keep that top seed. But here's what separates them. They've already been through adversity. This team knows what it's like to play in tight games, in bad weather, against top defenses. They've won ugly before, and they'll win ugly again if they have to. That's what great teams do. Meanwhile, when you look around the NFC East, it's hard to see anyone catching up. The Cowboys are still hanging around, but the gap is wide. The Commanders are falling apart, and the Giants, man, what a mess. They just fired Brian Daboll after that nightmare stretch. 2 years ago, he was Coach of the Year, won a playoff game in Minnesota, had Daniel Jones playing his best football. Now he's out the door, the roster's a disaster, and the front office doesn't look any better. Joe Schoen hasn't built much to be excited about, and honestly, that franchise feels like it's spinning its wheels. The Eagles don't have those problems. Their foundation is solid, their stars are locked in, and their coaching staff knows exactly what they're doing. Every season has its defining stretch, and this next month might be it for Philadelphia. The schedule's tough, but it's also the kind of challenge that forges championship teams. When you're chasing that #1 seed, every week matters. Every snap matters. Because if they can hold on to that top spot, they're not just buying rest. They're setting up home field advantage all the way through the NFC Championship. That means one less game on the road, one less travel week, and one more playoff matchup in front of that wild South Philly crowd. And as we've seen over and over again, when the Eagles are at home, in the cold, in front of those fans, they're almost impossible to beat. That's the mission now. Keep stacking wins. Survive the tough stretches. Let that pass rush keep wrecking games. And when the offense finds its rhythm again, because it will, the rest of the NFC better be ready. Because this team isn't just built to compete. They're built to conquer. When you start looking at the bigger picture in the NFC, the road to the Super Bowl is anything but easy, but Philadelphia is positioned better than anyone to handle it. The key now is consistency. We've seen what this team can do when the offense and defense click at the same time, but the margin for error in the NFC is razor thin. One slip up can be the difference between resting during the first round or having to go on the road in January. That's why every drive, every red zone trip, every third down, it all matters from here on out. You can tell the players know it too. There's a certain edge to how they're talking after games. It's not celebration, it's focus. They're not satisfied with just winning. They're trying to dominate. But that domination starts with fixing some of the issues on offense. We all know Jalen Hurts is a gamer, one of the best leaders in the league, but lately the rhythm hasn't been there. The play calling's been a bit predictable, and they've struggled to find that perfect balance between run and pass. Early in the season, we saw a version of this offense that was nearly unstoppable. Quick decisions, creative motion, pounding the rock when it mattered most. Lately, though, there have been too many conservative sequences, too many times where they settle for short yardage instead of taking shots. The good news is that this offense has too much talent to stay quiet for long. Hurts, Smith, Brown, and Barkley are capable of flipping a game in a single play. It's just about putting it all together again. The defense, on the other hand, has nothing to apologize for. That front seven has been the identity of this team since day one. Fletcher Cox still anchoring the line, Hasten Reddick terrorizing quarterbacks, and now Jalen Phillips adding that extra burst off the edge. Opponents can't double everyone. And when you combine that with the coverage improvements from guys like Darius Slay and Reed Blankenship, it's hard to find a weakness. This unit plays with attitude, and you can see it in the way they swarm the ball. There's no panic when a play breaks down. There's confidence that someone's going to step up and make a stop. That's the DNA of a championship defense. Now, the race for the #1 seed is heating up. Seattle's schedule is favorable. They've got winnable games against the Titans, Colts, and Panthers. The Lions have a tougher road, especially with back-to-back Thursday games and a couple of physical matchups against the Cowboys and Steelers. The Buccaneers stretch is sneaky hard too, facing teams like the Bills, Rams, and Dolphins. The Rams and Bears are in the mix, but they need to play perfect football to truly challenge for the top spot. So when you map it all out, Philadelphia controls its own destiny. If they take care of business, no one can knock them off that top perch. That's what makes this next stretch so critical. You can't afford to look ahead. Every week is a test, and every opponent sees the Eagles as their measuring stick. Beating the reigning NFC champs means something, and every team is coming for them. But if there's one thing this group has proven, it's that they don't back down. They play with that chip on their shoulder, like they remember every doubt and every critique. Jalen Hurts embodies that mindset, calm, composed, and unshakable. You never see him panic. Whether it's a 2-minute drill or a 3rd and long deep in their own territory, he stays locked in. That leadership bleeds into everyone else. You can see in the way the linemen protect him, in how the receivers fight for extra yards, and in how the defense feeds off that energy. And the fan base feels it too. Lincoln Financial Field has turned into a fortress again. The noise, the passion, the energy, there's nothing like it. When you walk into that stadium in December or January, it's not just a football game. It's a full-blown event. Every snap is met with thunderous roars. Every hit echoes across South Philly, and every touchdown feels like a tidal wave of emotion. That's the kind of environment that breaks visiting teams before the first quarter even ends. It's not hype, it's history. This fan base has seen it all, and they know what championship football looks like. As for the rest of the division, there's really no one that can keep up when the Eagles are at their best. Dallas is still dangerous, sure, but they're inconsistent. One week they look like world beaters, and the next they can't get out of their own way. Washington's rebuild is going nowhere fast, and the Giants are in a full-blown identity crisis. Firing Brian Daboll was a massive move, and it shows just how lost that franchise is. From a playoff perspective, the NFC East feels decided. The only question now is how high Philadelphia can climb and how healthy they can stay doing it. Health, by the way, might be the real X factor down the stretch. We've seen injuries derail great teams before. The Eagles' depth is strong, but keeping guys like Hurts, Barkley, and Smith healthy is non-negotiable. Sirianni's been good at managing workloads, mixing in rotations on defense, and finding ways to keep his players fresh, but the schedule won't do them any favors. Short weeks, primetime games, cold weather, that's a lot to manage. Still, this team has been built for endurance. Their conditioning, their preparation, even the way they practice, it's all tailored for late-season football. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a development that has sent shockwaves through the NFL community, Jerry Jones, the ever-controversial owner of the Dallas Cowboys, reportedly made comments about the Philadelphia Eagles that insiders are calling unexpected and explosive. Sources close to the situation say Jones's remarks came during a private meeting that somehow leaked, sparking a frenzy across social media and sports talk shows alike. What exactly he said remains murky, but those familiar with the conversation hint that his words were far from the usual measured statements Jones tends to make about rival teams. According to whispers in the league, Jones didn't hold back, and his tone was reportedly sharp enough to catch even veteran analysts off guard. Some speculate that he may have been referencing recent Eagle strategies, while others believe it was a pointed jab at certain players or team management decisions. Whatever the case, the timing couldn't be more tantalizing, as fans from both sides have started speculating wildly about what this could mean for the ongoing rivalry. Cowboys supporters seem energized, seeing Jones's comments as a sign that he's ready to play mind games, while Eagles fans are equally defensive, interpreting the remarks as a deliberate provocation. Sports insiders are noting that Jones has a history of making statements that create headlines, but this particular incident seems to carry a different weight. The mystery surrounding his comments has only fueled debate. Was it a tactical move to unsettle the Eagles, or just Jones being Jones? Analysts are pointing out that the phrasing reportedly used in the leaks suggests he might have inside knowledge, or at least a sharp critique of the Eagles' current approach. Meanwhile, sports media outlets are scrambling, trying to verify details and provide context, though most are careful to note that nothing has been officially confirmed. The rumor mill is in overdrive. From cryptic tweets hinting at big moves ahead to heated discussion threads dissecting every possible interpretation of Jones's words, the NFL landscape is buzzing. Even former players and coaches are weighing in, offering their takes and adding to the speculative fire. In true Jones fashion, the comments, real or exaggerated, have already begun to dominate headlines and locker room chatter alike. One thing is clear. In a world of NFL rivalries, especially between the Cowboys and the Eagles, a few well-chosen words from Jerry Jones are enough to set the league ablaze. And for now, fans and insiders alike can only wait, guess, and debate what impact these statements might have on the intense rivalry moving forward. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.